Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 501 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Brenda Toller. And if you want to hear a story about how we are stronger together, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We just crossed the 500 episode mark. This is episode 501. I'm really happy for that. I'm looking forward to the next 500 interviews. Today we have Brenda Toller. I'm really excited to tell her story. Executive Director of Minnesota Chiropractic Association. I think there's going to be a lot of great takeaways for everybody watching today. I think that there's going to be a lot of great perspectives that we share, and people are going to probably want to get out their pen and paper and take a few notes along today's interview, because that's what I love most about what we do is we do share a lot of information for people. But before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know the big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, First Amendment is important to us, protecting freedom of speech. A lot of people don't know this, Brenda, but I got my background in journalism. So I have a journalistic degree. And that's, I never really tell people that. It's kind of strange, but I did. So I take First Amendment really serious. I think that we should have freedom of speech in chiropractic for certain, because we have things such as medical freedom and family health freedom that chiropractors have been standing on the shoulders of giants protecting for a long time. And so I think that those things are important to talk about. And then BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust. I think that that's something, if people just went and looked for BJ Palmer's last words on their favorite search engine, or they searched for BJ Palmer's Sacred Trust, they'll learn a whole lot more about chiropractic than they previously knew. And that is something I find is super important, because we have to remember our philosophy, the foundations of this profession. And if you are a part of this profession, take the Sacred Trust oath and guard it well. And then second to last, we do believe in subluxation-based chiropractic. I think it's something that we have to shine a spotlight on and let people know about. And then lastly, we believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, get adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that being said, Brenda Toller, welcome to the show.
Thank you, James. I really appreciate that. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, we're really excited to have you too, because I am looking forward to the perspective that you have as an executive director, really on the front line supporting chiropractic and making sure that chiropractors have a platform of freedom to practice. And I think that that's really important. But before we get into what's important to you and where we are today, let's go back in time a little bit and talk about how you got into chiropractic, and maybe share your chiropractic story about how and why you work with chiropractors.
Well, I really love this profession, and I have been in chiropractic basically my whole life and as a patient. And I feel that over the decades, I have found that my passion and my dedication is really now towards the younger doctors. And with that, they're our future. And without them, where's our profession going? Mm-hmm. So their involvement in the state association or the national association helps them to succeed. And with that, MCA is starting our new young professional program that's designed to help these new doctors that are starting out be successful and start their new journey. And it's working in and on their business, that they're business owners And that really is my story. That passion, I live it. And I just have the utmost respect for every chiropractor out there. So it's an honor that I can be here today and that I can be the executive director of MCA.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to unpack a little bit of your answer there. And I'm just curious, new students, you really have a love for helping them find a strong sense of practice and a strong sense of chiropractic. Where are most of the students coming from that you're helping?
Now, with me being the executive director of MCA, they're coming from Northwestern.
Northwestern. Yeah, actually, I've been down a couple years now to speaking at the chiropractic colleges down in Mexico. And
Fantastic.
and there's direct linkage, I believe, from Northwestern to those schools down there in Mexico, correct?
Maybe.
Well, from what I remember, there was a connection with the Northwestern protocol down there for the schools down in Veracruz, Ecatepec, and in Toluca. And there's actually, if people don't know this, there's 3 chiropractic colleges down in Mexico, and they're actually producing per unit more chiropractors, second to the United States, as professionals yearly. They're making a lot of chiropractors down in Mexico right now. The schools are thriving.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, pretty cool information, right? You never
It
know what
is.
you're going to find. So new students are coming from Northwestern. What are you finding as some of their challenges when they come into this young professionals program?
You know, I found this all over the nation. It's just not Minnesota. These young people go into college and they're excited and they're thriving and they're learning all about the body and how they can help their patients through the chiropractic. And when they graduate, they know how to adjust. And when now they're in the real world, and then what? And I have found it's just really hard for them to get started. And how do I interview for the front desk? And what do I do? You know, what kind of equipment do I really need to do? And it's just all of that, as far as getting your business started, is something that they really need help with. And there's ways that you can spend a lot of money. And then there's ways that, you know, we're going to help you with your state association. We'll help with that. And we'll guide you and connect you to the people that they need to be connected with to really set themselves up to be successful and to grow in their new journey.
I believe in it so much. There's 3 ways that people can build their practice, I believe, with their time, their talent, or their treasure. And it's the same way of giving back or donating money or donating your time or doing something. But I think that early, the upstart phase, a chiropractor probably has a lot more time than they do treasure.
I would agree with that.
So they have to go out and actually put hands on their community. They have to go
Right.
out and be present in their community, and they have to go out and learn how to become the practitioner that they've always desired to be.
Right. And so there's ways that they can do that.
So outcome scenarios. What do you think that most of the young chiropractors that come into the professional program that you're putting on are looking to accomplish by the time they feel confident enough to go do their practice?
You're talking about our young professional program?
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So that's just in the infant stage. We're
Okay.
setting it all up. But the goal is that they're going to be able to either, 1, know how to apply for a business loan, 2, that we're going to help them find an associate position that they would help it, or 3, they're starting their own and they'll be able to go in and look for a location, look for staff, look for equipment. So they're going to be well-rounded, that they're going to know about the billing and the coding, and they're going to know all of that they need to be successful.
You know, you hit a grand slam there for me, and you talked about people coming in and becoming associates. And I think that there's a huge generation of docs that understand how to adjust, understand philosophy, understand the history of chiropractic, and they're looking so many of them are looking for a second set of hands to come in and work with them. And if I could ever just encourage anybody that's listening or watching our show to pay attention to what Brenda just said, is there are more and more opportunities for young DCs to come in and actually get mentorship and to get their career started working side by side with a real deal chiropractor.
Correct. And if I can say one more thing on that.
Sure.
These doctors that have been in practice for a while, the baby boomers and that maybe want to retire. They're looking for someone to take over their position. Your state association is going to know who they are. And two, then they have an opportunity that they can go in and get real life, mentorship and help so that they can then take over and establish practice. How great is that? I mean, really, that's exciting.
I laugh because I see the necessity for it.
Absolutely.
I laugh because I think that a lot of people might think this stuff, but they don't know how to articulate it. And I think that as we develop as, connection between Minnesota and Chiro Hustle, we're going to help a lot of people fill in the gaps, because I think that people, they're all looking, it's just like getting new patients. The patient's looking for chiropractic. They just don't know it's chiropractic they're looking for. The new grad's looking for an associate position. They just don't know who that associate position is going to be with.
Right.
So I think that that's an important part of the chiropractic business. And yeah, I think that they need to know how to do the financing and to do that with security and with credibility and with a strategy. Because, I've also heard this, Brenda, is when a chiropractor gets out of school, they go out there for 5 years, their success rate and their failure rate is at the same level of a small business, because that's what they are. So they're succeeding at the same pace as a small business within that 5-year sink or swim time. And unfortunately, some of the chiropractors get out there and they do it their own way and they sink within that first 5-year bubble and they don't make it past that. So we need to see what we can do to save that fail rate at that 50%, and mentorship and associateship is something that's super important.
It is. Also, I have to say though, the associations in the state, we're going to help. And that's why MCA itself, we pay their first year after they graduate. We cover it for them because we know that it's hard. And you can get so much from your association when they start out that it's important. And since they're a student, they should join and continue on, because it really does support the profession and themselves as a whole.
Yeah, so I want to go to your wheelhouse and why to support the state associations. But before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about marketing, because I know that you had a great perspective on this when we were chatting off camera. And what advice would you give to these young DCs or these first 5-year DCs on how to actually grow a practice?
Yeah, I love that question. We're so social media focused. I do think Facebook and that there's always a place for that. But, there's a BNI, Business Networking Institute. Every location, every state has them, and there's different chapters around the state. Getting involved with that is fantastic because you're the only doctor there. They don't allow anybody else in. Events in your area. Don't be afraid to go out and give your card, talk to them, and then go to the schools. Schools could maybe, let you go in and talk to the students, talk to the staff, talk to businesses in your area. And if in your area there's trucking, oh my gosh, DOT, I would strongly recommend that as well. I mean, I have to doctors that are in that area. That's a great source of revenue for them. And of course, join your state association because it's important.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and Emsculpt. Let's hustle. Yeah, I think that a lot of times people don't realize how powerful it can be to join a leads and referral group like BNI,
Right.
or to be on their chamber. And
Yes.
a lot of these do, they favor exclusivity, and they favor working with maybe 1 to 2 in a certain sector. And I think that that's really important for them to know, is like, hey, it might take up 2 to 3 hours of your week, but when you become the go-to for like 30 plus businesses in your local community, that's direct impact.
That's priceless.
That's direct impact, and everybody gets rewarded for helping each other grow their businesses. So it's like having a little group of people that support your mission and vision because of buy-in and association. Same way with the state association now. So I think this kind of segued perfect for why it's important. And I'll just, before we get into like, you discussing the why behind this, is I found, after doing so much work within the profession, is a lot of these people, they don't realize that they need to have support from their state association or become a member until they get a board complaint. They don't realize that they have to be protected as a practicing chiropractor by their state association until they need to get out of a situation. And then they're like, hey, as fast as they can knock, and they're on your phone saying, hey, this is what I need, rather than having like a long-term relationship with that state association. A lot of times it starts off on the wrong foot.
Unfortunately, that does happen.
So why would you say that every chiropractor should be a paying member of our state associations?
Well, number one, we all know legislative, because you just kind of said that. We have to make sure that we're able to protect our scope and protect our businesses. And who does that but the state association? Without association, you're alone. And that would be a scary place to be. But other than that, it's to be involved and stay connected. By joining your local state association or even your national association, you are able to be part of some great mentors, or be a mentor yourself. The learning capabilities, you're going to be around active and successful peers, the continuing education itself, the discounts that you get, the benefits that you get, and then the suppliers. The doctors have products that they need to stay in business. And many times the suppliers partner with the associations so that they're able to give added benefits to the members, where if you're not a member, you might be paying the list price. There's so many benefits to being part of this that it's just not legislative. It's imperative.
Yeah, and I think there is value in the numbers too. The more people that are a part of something, there's more strength as an outsider looking in.
Absolutely. We are stronger together, and that is my motto.
And I think that that's really important to focus on too. We are stronger together. And I was telling you off camera that what we do is we're non-denominational when it comes to chiropractic. I just want to make sure that people are practicing chiropractic and taking care of their communities. And I think that a state association helps them do that. And I think that that's something that we really need to hit the nail on the head when it comes to the why. Why do I support my state association? Because I gave like worst case scenario. You gave why to be a part of that community. And I think that if anybody watched this, they should just do it because it's the right thing to do.
It really is the right thing to do, because they went to school for this profession. They have to make sure that it's protected.
Absolutely. And just like I say in the opener, we have to protect BJ Palmer Sacred Trust, and we have to go forth and serve. And I think that that's really important to talk about. So as we continue the conversation today, I'm curious to know, like, 20 years from now, where do you see chiropractic heading?
Love this question. because I have seen it since the 80s and how things are moving. And what I really think is interesting is the integrated care setting. Um, Integration with other healthcare providers is really what patients want. I am not a doctor, I am a patient. And I think this is just the most exciting thing that we're going to see go as we move further down the road, that we're going to see more integration.
Well, I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit for you, and I think that when we talk about big medical and we talk about big pharma, we're talking about the wrong type of integration. I think that we should really focus on like a localization of urgent care, having connections with them, and building relationships with that type of connection, because I believe that a lot of referrals come into them. They don't want to see worst case scenario of more people on more drugs getting more unnecessary treatments. I think honestly, if the local chiropractor built relationships with their urgent care and practices like that, they would realize that they would get more referrals from those types of facilities, because they don't want to give more potions and lotions. They want people to start getting healthier under their guise. And I think that if any chiropractor out there that does x-ray, I would recommend them also to build relationships with their local joints. The chiropractic franchise out there that doesn't do x-rays. So they don't want accident patients. You know,
I didn't catch that. They don't want what?
they don't want accident patients. They don't want like car crashes. They don't want slip and falls because they don't x-ray. They want maintenance chiropractic adjusting only cases. So I would tell every chiropractor to go out there and build a relationship with that local, those, membership style practices that don't do x-rays. And I would say, hey, go out there and take that clinic director out for lunch, get to know them, and say, hey, I do more advanced style of care. And if you wanted to have a referral source for those cases that come in with a hot disc or that just got in a car crash that are looking for like really like corrective care rather than just maintenance care, I think that that'd be a great like partnership for them too. So those are a couple like really good avenues for people, not just the integrative model of like creating little mini, wellness centers, which I think are great too, because that's the type of clinic I go to. I mean, the clinic I go to does all types of, care packages and rehab for people. And, there's a big net out there for people that once they get into that system, they get chiropractic. And chiropractic is also a standalone profession. But I think that when you can say integration, that there is a place for these, if you will, mini wellness centers within communities that are led by a chiropractor.
Correct. They are. And it's fascinating. It works. They're doing well. And I like what you said about the emergency room. I think those are things that are all avenues for our doctors to connect with.
Well, I mean, if you go to just about any city with 10,000 people or more, there's at least 2 urgent cares there.
Right.
And those people, they aren't hospital systems. They're a different style of facility that actually is looking to help people fast that usually don't have health insurance, that are coming to them because they don't want to have a big medical bill. So they're coming to them as a secondary choice based on the big sponsored, medical facilities within the city, like the hospitals or the ER.
But there are some hospitals that do have chiropractic clinics in them.
That's also important too. And I'll go back always to my friend Eric Plasker. He'd say chiropractic first, chiropractic second, chiropractic third, chiropractic fourth, chiropractic fifth, chiropractic and intervention with this, sixth, chiropractic and intervention with that, seventh, but always include chiropractic with it. And whether it's surgery or recovery from some deep illness, some entrenched illness, you should always do chiropractic with it. So it's very important to continue care model with whatever that care provider is telling. But I've also seen over my time of doing chiropractic sales and screenings that a lot of these people, once they come into a system like that, they'll tell their patient that comes in not to go see a chiropractor. And I do believe that we need to reintegrate, as the integration model follows, is to finding the practitioners that understand the value of chiropractic along with whatever they're prescribing, whatever they're saying to go do. Like they should not like disengage people's potentiality with chiropractic just because of the dogma of the scope they look through.
Right.
So yeah, we're speaking the same language, and I do think that integration is something that we're going to see more and more over the next 2 decades.
I do too.
Let's turn the page a little bit. Who are some of the people that you've looked up to? Some of the people that have helped you become who you are today, the chiropractic warrior.
So this is more of a difficult question because so many people have entered my life, and I couldn't pick out one person. So I'm going to give you an answer in a group, and I think my admiration and everything is for the volunteer leaders because they are taking care of patients. They're volunteering their time to do this. They are taking that extra step. And, I admire that. And there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that give for the sake of giving, serve for the sake of serving, out of their abundance, expecting nothing in return.
Right.
And they love for the sake of loving too. And I think that that's the basis of Dynamic Essentials down in Georgia. Sid Williams started. That was his philosophy. Give for the sake of giving, serve for the sake of serving, love for the sake of loving, out of your abundance, expecting nothing in return. And I think it's a very well thought out process. And I think that if that's something that you admire about the chiropractors, I love that too. They are heroes.
They are. And that's why I've been involved with them for so long. I mean, it's just, I respect and admire all of them.
So let's go granular. If you could pick one person from the history of chiropractic to sit down and have an hour-long conversation with, maybe it's over a coffee, a drink, or lunch, or dinner, or something, maybe breakfast if they're an early bird. Who would that person be?
Honestly, I'd say BJ Palmer. I'm just amazed by him and the stories I've heard of him.
Yeah. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. People that watch our show, listen to our show, they know that. 1 mile from campus is where my boyhood home is. And I have like this, I didn't know that chiropractic was so powerful when I was a young man. I didn't know what it actually was. I didn't know it started in Davenport, Iowa. I didn't know that Palmer College, which was right across from the high school that I attended, was the first chiropractic college on planet Earth. I didn't know any of this stuff.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I hurt myself playing high school football. My athletic trainer suggested, here we go, integration. My athletic trainer suggested that I go to Palmer at age 16. I'm 44 now, and get some x-rays of my spine to see if there's anything going on. And I went to Palmer College, my mom took me at 16. They did some x-rays, and it was actually my shoulder. And they did some x-rays of my shoulder. And then the staff doctor there said, hey, is it okay if we x-ray his spine to see if anything's going on? And of course, my mom wants the best for me. So she said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And ever since then, at age 16, I've been a part of this profession. So it's been really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So at the end of this interview, I'm always curious to know, and I know you had an answer for this before and you're going to share with me. I'm like, nope, save it for the interview. Tell us a miracle story and something that might give our listeners and our viewers hope.
Oh, now you reworded it on me.
Okay, we'll go back to the original.
I do have a miracle story, and I'm very thankful for it. So MCA just had their lobby day at the Capitol, and it was terrible snow, and the weather was not good. And we still had like 26 to under 30 people, but they still showed up for a great day. And that to me is dedication. And I think that's a miracle because the weather was really bad.
Well, I think that does give people hope. It does give people hope that Like you said, we are stronger together.
Yeah.
And when people show up, a big part of what I believe in is you just have to keep showing up.
Yes.
We all have stuff going on. We all have a lot of ideas and concerns, and the list can go on and on. We could probably add more to it as we talk, but I really believe that showing up is the most important part, and sticking together and knowing that we are more alike than we are different, and that if we lock arms together, we're harder to knock over. And that, that analogy I gave to you earlier about David and Goliath, they asked David how he could hit the giant. And David said, well, how could I miss the giant? He was so big. And I think that that's a good analogous moment for chiropractic is how could chiropractic keep winning? Well, how could chiropractic not keep winning? The other problem of the world is just so big.
Yes, right on. I have been all over the world traveling for chiropractic. And one thing I have found, there are different ways, everybody believes in different things for adjusting for their patients, and power to them. One thing we all agree on is that we love the profession and we love our patients. And that right there keeps us stronger together.
Amen. So at the end of the interviews, I always ask, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, did I say that they should join their state association?
I think we talked a little bit about that, but
okay.
I'll reiterate. Everybody should join their state association, and specifically if you're up in Minnesota, reach out to Brenda and her team and become a member. It's been a real honor to have the executive director of Minnesota on with us today. It's a special moment to share the scope of influence from somebody that's not a DC like myself, and that's out there doing the right thing for freedom of speech, medical freedom, and family freedom, and protecting the sacred trust and supporting subluxation-based chiropractic, innate intelligence, and universal intelligence. And with that said, I'm going to close out by telling everyone, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Brenda, it was a pleasure having you as a guest today.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I really appreciate it.
All right. Talk soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.